The Jetour T2 is kind of like the BMW M3, in that it's the older and seemingly more accomplished sibling, while the T1 is like the M2. It lives in the shadow of its older sibling, less talked about, less hyped, and perceived not to be as successful. But today I'm gonna dispel that notion entirely because the T1 is seriously good and deserves a second look. So I'm gonna tell you everything you need to know about its practicality, its features. I'm gonna take it on the road to find out how dynamic it is, and then I'll tell you what it'll cost to own one on a monthly basis. My primary focus will be on the front-wheel drive base model, the Edge, but as I'm reviewing, I'll also be contrasting some of its features with the all-wheel drive mid-spec, the Explorer. So, without further ado, let's get into this review. Car Talks. Power, precision, performance. We are back at the award-winning Jetour Bryanston dealership, and we've been invited back to sample the T1. Now, I'm not using the term award-winning just for the sake of using it. No. They are indeed award-winning. Check out these bad boys. So shout out to the team at large for inviting us back, and thank you to you guys, our audience, because the T2 review is currently on 40,000 views and counting. So none of these things would be happening without you. Okay, back to the vehicle that brings us here. Moving on to practicality and features, you get 574 liters worth of boot capacity, which is not too far off the T2's 580. You get a 12-volt socket, a 60/40 rear bench split configuration, and a parcel shelf. The tailgate is of course manually operated, but there's a grab handle to assist you with that, while the Explorer gets an electric tailgate. Stepping into the rear, you get a side step because this is still a pretty tall vehicle with 200 millimeters of ground clearance, so it's only 20 millimeters less than that of the T2. You get a leather bench with orange stitching, which looks quite nice. You get a center armrest with 2 cup holders, ISOFIX anchor points to safely mount your child seat, 2 air vents, and 2 USB ports. Although the T1 is slightly shorter than the T2 at 4.7 meters, their wheelbases are identical at exactly 2.8 meters for both cars. So that means rear legroom in the T1 is cavernous too. At 1.78 meters, I can stretch quite far out when sitting behind my driving position. Now, let's have a look at the front cabin, and immediately it looks incredible. I mean, this is literally the base model, the cheapest T1 that money can buy, but you have chrome and you have aluminium and all sorts of high quality interior finishes in here. Let that sink in. If this is not a complete overhaul of the automotive industry, then I don't know what is. You get electrically adjustable front leather seats, also with orange stitching. Regrettably, there's no sunroof in here, and that's because it's reserved for the Aspire model in the 1.5-liter variants and the Odyssey model in the 2-liter variants. But you do get black roof lining nonetheless, which gives the cabin a premium look and feel. Storage space is plentiful with a decent-sized cubbyhole, a very deep storage bin under the armrest, and just like on the T2, the transmission is shift-by-wire, so you've got all of that usable storage space under the center console. You will also find not 2, but 4 USB ports up front, which means you can hook up a dash cam while both occupants are charging their phones simultaneously. Initially, I thought this was a wireless charger until I put my phone down there and realized nothing's happening. So it's just a placeholder for your phone. But the Explorer model gets a wireless charger, which is cool as well. Now, I'm not a fan of these exposed wireless chargers, not only on the Jetour, but across the board in general. I said the same thing in my Omoda C9 review because crime is rampant in South Africa. So having your phone on display like that is like a mini advertisement for whatever else is inside the car. The sun is also another consideration because with these new smartphones, all it takes is you looking at it and it heats up immediately. So what do you think is going to happen when you place it under direct sunlight? So yeah, this area is definitely not my favorite place to store a phone. You get a 12.8-inch infotainment system that comes with wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. But from the Explorer and upwards, you get a bigger 15.6-inch infotainment screen that you also find in the T2. What I also appreciate is that despite the large screen, you still have physical buttons for your dual-zone climate control. Would you just look at the quality of those air vents? I'm pretty certain that by now you can probably tell I'm a sucker for any aluminium in the interior. The passenger side gets ambient lighting that looks like a map. Pretty cool stuff. And there's the word Travel Plus on the dashboard to let you know that the vehicle is built to be a comfortable long-distance cruiser. The front-wheel drive version doesn't have any of the off-road capability stuff, but you do get this swivel wheel which lets you choose the engine and throttle response between eco, normal, and sport mode. You do, however, get all of the off-road modes from the four-wheel drive T1 Explorer and upwards. The wheels are also a smaller 18 inches in the entry-level Edge, while the Explorer gets sleeker 19-inch wheels. And finally, the spec sheet of this car has just come out, and you've got a choice of 6 colors from which to choose. Now that is all said and done, let's take her out for a drive and find out if she's really as good as the T2. So, under the bonnet is a 1.5-litre 4-cylinder turbo petrol engine, putting out 125 kilowatts and 270 newton meters of torque. Power is sent to the front wheels only via a 7-speed dual-clutch gearbox. Curb weight is 1.7 tons, so that is between 97 and 278 kilos lighter than the T2, depending on which spec you go for. Now, listen carefully. The 1.5-litre front-wheel drive and the 2-litre all-wheel drivetrain in the T1 have the exact same power outputs as those in the T2. So this is where it becomes tricky because the T1 is lighter than the T2, and because of that, has a higher power-to-weight ratio. So dynamically speaking, the T1 feels like the T2 but with 2 less passengers, if you get that analogy. The 1.5-litre engine feels noticeably laggy when compared to the 2-litre. So for instance, you'll put your foot down and nothing happens, and then boom, you get all of the power suddenly. So I think I enjoy the 2-litre more than this one. The gearbox is a dual clutch, so it is going to be on the clunkier side of things at low speed. But once you're up at speed or even driving the vehicle enthusiastically, then it's totally fine. Apart from that, solid vehicle with an impeccable build quality. You can literally hear a pin drop at 60 km per hour. That's how well this cabin is insulated. Claimed fuel consumption is 7.9 liters per 100 kilometers on the combined cycle. And someone was complaining in the comment section last week that I didn't give the actual consumption numbers of the T2. Well, surprise, surprise, I'm not going to give you the actual numbers on the T1 as well, because these are brand new cars and the engines haven't even broken in yet. So actual consumption at this stage is neither here nor there. Now, if Jetour South Africa were to send me a unit to live with for a week, then I'd be happy to run it in and give you more accurate fuel consumption numbers. Other highlight features include keyless entry, non-adaptive cruise control, and a 540-degree panoramic camera. Blind spot monitoring is only available from the Aspire model and upwards, unfortunately. Before we get to pricing and the cost of ownership, I just wanted to say, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for 8,000 subscribers. I truly appreciate it. And we are still on the road to 10,000 subs before the end of 2025, which is a bit ambitious considering that there's only 2 weeks left. But if you're enjoying these videos, do well and hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to turn on your notifications so that you don't miss a single one of our epic reviews, baby. Moving on to pricing, the range kicks off from 515,000 rands with the Edge that we're currently reviewing. Above that is the Aspire model, which introduces a panoramic glass roof and blind spot monitoring amongst other features. But if it's 4x4 capability that you're after, then the Explorer is the cheapest entry point into that at 595,000 rands, which also comes with a more powerful 2-liter engine. Above that is the top spec Odyssey, which gives you all of the bells and whistles, including a 9-speaker Sony system. On finance, the base model Edge will cost you 9,700 rands a month over 6 years at the current prime interest rate of 10.25% per annum. Insurance is risk profile dependent, and the cheapest quote I got was 1,500 rands. A full tank of petrol will cost you again 1,500 rands at the current inland price of 95 octane for the 70-liter fuel tank. Quite big for this segment, which would then bring your total cost of ownership to 12,700 rands. Yep, that's us, conveniently passing next to a Land Rover dealership. See what we did there? This is basically what you guys are already paying for a VW Polo R-Line with a 1-liter 3-cylinder engine. So I think for everything you're getting in here, the pricing is certainly going to be a disruptor. But hey man, no matter what I say about the T1, I know the vast majority of you just want a Land Rover Defender lookalike for a third of the price. The heart wants what it wants, and that is perfectly fine. Thank you to Aarif once again, and do reach out to him if you're looking for any Jetour product. I'll leave his contact details in the description box below. Thank you for watching. Until next time, take care.